From the most epic showdowns to the biggest moments of sheer dominance,
And this Khabib guy, I knew Khabib was going to win.
Khabib has shocked the world not once, not twice, but 10 times. Coming in at number 10 is Khabib's iconic moment of wrestling a bear as a child. Believe it or not, the former UFC lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov really did wrestle bears when he was a kid. No wonder no one could out-wrestle him in the octagon. In a video released on YouTube, you can see Khabib as a kid seriously wrestling a bear, going for double-leg takedowns and using various moves like it was a real match. It's amazing that even as a child, Khabib could hold his own against such a big opponent. Later, in 2021, the Phenom shared how he ended up wrestling wild grizzly bears during an interview with ESPN's Megan O'Leary after UFC Fight Night Brunson vs. Holland. The interview happened after the Eagle was officially declared retired by the UFC.
I promise her it's gonna be my last fight.
Talking about his first time wrestling a bear, Khabib Nurmagomedov said, "I said, 'Father, let's go.' I went to wrestle with him. Because of my father, I began wrestling maybe 5 years. My father have gym in my home. He teaches a lot of guys coming, and I train with my father my whole life. And he teach me wrestling for everything. And I'm with my father, 9 years old Western guy. Do you think I'm scared?" Well, certainly not. Clearly, little Khabib was taught to never back down, even from a wild bear in the mountains of Dagestan. This mindset helped him become one of the greatest mixed martial artists ever. But this moment cannot be compared to his fierce battle against one of the best in UFC, Michael Johnson. Number 9. Michael Johnson submission. Back when Khabib Nurmagomedov faced Michael Johnson, he was sporting an undefeated record of 23-0 and ranked second in the lightweight division. Meanwhile, Johnson, who was ranked at 6th position, had just pulled off a stunning knockout against Dustin Poirier 2 months earlier. Their showdown went down during the preliminary card of UFC 205 at Madison Square Garden. The main event featured a title clash between UFC light heavyweight champ Eddie Alvarez and featherweight title holder Conor McGregor. Nurmagomedov and Johnson were both eyeing a shot at the winner. But then, who could possibly put out the phenom of UFC? Despite Johnson's early success in striking, Nurmagomedov managed to turn the tide by taking the fight to the ground. No way that happened earlier, because Khabib dominated with ground strikes, landing 32 significant blows compared to Johnson's total in the entire first round. But hold on, that was only a rough start for Khabib. During his break in the corner, Khabib was so relaxed that he even had a chat with UFC president Dana White, who was sitting nearby. Suddenly, he goes,
Because we're gonna smash your boy. Yes, of course.
referring to the almighty Conor McGregor. As the final round approached, referee John McCarthy warned Johnson's corner that he wouldn't let the fighter take much more punishment. 30 seconds into the third round, Nurmagomedov took the fight to the mat and unleashed a barrage of ground strikes. It was in this flurry that Nurmagomedov urged Johnson to give up, insisting he needed to fight for the title. Despite Johnson's refusal to quit, Nurmagomedov secured a Kimura submission, prompting Johnson to tap out. Following the fight, Nurmagomedov rushed to the cage and expressed to White his desire for a title shot. He ultimately got his opportunity at UFC 223, where he claimed the belt with a decision victory over Al Iaquinta. And even at that, the submission fight against Michael Johnson is not as crazy as his big showdown against Al Iaquinta. Number 8. Al Iaquinta Showdown. Just a few years back, Khabib faced one of the toughest weeks a fighter could endure. His original opponent, Tony Ferguson, had to pull out due to a knee injury. Despite a chaotic lead-up to the event, Khabib still achieved his goal with a unanimous decision victory over Al Iaquinta, securing the lightweight championship. In typical fashion, he dominated by pressing Iaquinta against the cage and unleashing a barrage of punches. Although Iaquinta managed to get back on his feet admirably, he couldn't escape Nurmagomedov's powerful grasp, reminiscent of a bear's strength. Khabib kept up his relentless wrestling in the second round, immediately diving for Iaquinta's leg and dragging him back to the ground. Once on the mat, he dominated, punishing Iaquinta with punches and then transitioning to seek submissions while controlling his opponent's back. At this moment, Iaquinta tries to fight back hard, showcasing his resilience as a former Ultimate Fighter contestant. But well, no one brings a knife to a gunfight, right? Although most people were surprised that Iaquinta lasted all 5 rounds, Khabib actually secured a clear victory with the judges scoring the fight 50-44, 50-43, and 50-43 in favor of the undefeated Russian, now with a record of 26-0 in his career. No doubt, Khabib is literally the king of the game. But let's face it, this king could not escape what was coming, like when he had the biggest fight of his career with one of the biggest UFC fighters in modern-day history, Conor McGregor. Number 7. The Conor McGregor fight. The McGregor vs. Khabib fight was highly anticipated, fueled by one of the fiercest rivalries in promotional history. The fight was supposed to be for the UFC Lightweight Championship, but all anyone could talk about was the intense rivalry between McGregor and the Eagle. In fact, they exchanged heated words both online and face-to-face in the lead-up to the big showdown.
I'm coming to put a hole in this man's skull, dent my knuckle into his orbital bone, and that's what I'm gonna do. I came back for the love of this, to come and shut this man up. A little rat, a little weasel, a little hard man in groups.
It was all talks until the D-Day, and something unexpected happened. At the start, it was all competitive until Nurmagomedov gained momentum after landing a powerful overhand right that rocked McGregor. From then on, grappling became the dominant strategy. Khabib repeatedly took McGregor down and controlled him on the ground, delivering ground-and-pound strikes while taunting McGregor. In round 4, Nurmagomedov ended the fight with a neck crank submission, prompting McGregor to tap out. But afterward, Khabib leaped out of the cage, sparking a chaotic brawl between their teams. The bitter feud, marked by personal insults before the fight, escalated dramatically after the final bell, because what started as an ordinary fight soon erupted into violence as all hell broke loose outside the octagon. As for McGregor, he was seriously shocked and disappointed just like everyone. In a clip from McGregor's documentary, McGregor Forever, we see a vulnerable side of him as he was comforted by his coaches and family. Even UFC President Dana White talked to McGregor after the fight, but Conor was too consumed by his loss to focus on anything else. In the end, this fight only proved Khabib is one of the best UFC fighters ever. But what if I told you he got bigger rewards for his performance? Well, at number 6, Khabib had an unexpected meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. After UFC 229, Khabib Nurmagomedov reportedly received a life-changing call from Russian President Vladimir Putin.
He just called me and he said he was very proud of me. I win. And he said congratulations.
UFC President Dana White shared that this call happened right after Khabib's first UFC lightweight title defense against Conor McGregor. Khabib vs. McGregor was the biggest pay-per-view event in UFC history, only surpassed by 3 boxing matches headlined by Floyd Mayweather Jr. On October 6, 2018, UFC 229 had everyone's attention, including some very powerful people. After the meeting, Dana White gave everyone some insider information after he told the Games with Names podcast.
And Putin gave him and his father like $20 million worth of property in Russia. Then he went into, the Muslim territories where these guys are just cars, money, gyms, whatever he wanted.
Putin's alleged gifts helped Khabib deal with the $500,000 fine he received that night. Khabib was penalized for jumping into the crowd and fighting with McGregor's teammate Dylan Dennis, which led to a chaotic brawl involving both fighters' teams. Khabib has a history of mingling with influential figures in Russia, but on the other hand, he also has a history with accumulating debt, just like when he shocked the world this year. Number 5. Khabib debt. It was reported recently that Khabib might be facing some serious trouble back home in Russia. Apparently, the 35-year-old owes a hefty sum of 306 million rubles, which roughly converts to $3.3 million in unpaid taxes to the Russian Federal Tax Service. The investigation into the UFC Hall of Famer's finances allegedly kicked off after he transferred ownership of several of his businesses, with some reportedly going to his family and friends. Russian tax authorities supposedly found discrepancies in the paperwork related to the closure of these businesses. Authorities in Russia suspect that Khabib used the money he owed in taxes to invest in hotels and startups in the UAE and Turkey. In response to the news, McGregor took a shot at his longtime rival, suggesting that these financial issues might push Khabib back into the UFC for a big money fight. But as you'd expect, McGregor took his chances and threw subtle shots at him. During a live stream for his new business partner, Dual Bits, McGregor commented on the reports about Khabib's tax troubles, saying, "That's typical rat behavior, scurrying rat." So he has bills to pay, 2 main events or something he has in the UFC, and he owes his bollocks to the Russian government. So he's gonna pay his effing money that he owes instead of siphoning it out through the other countries. I'm ecstatic and delighted that that's coming on top of him. McGregor shifted away from discussing Khabib's taxes and instead talked about the potential for Khabib to return to fighting. But that's quite disrespectful considering that Khabib has had an arguably better career than him. And while everyone was waiting for Khabib to slip up, he shocked the world after breaking one of the biggest news in UFC. Number 4. Khabib's retirement. Out of the blue, the UFC superstar called time on his career after beating Justin Gaethje to defend his lightweight title and maintain his flawless record. The unbeaten MMA fighter from Dagestan, Russia, broke down in tears in the middle of the octagon after submitting his American rival at UFC 254. After rising to his feet, he removed his gloves and placed them on the canvas, after which he announced his retirement. But it was quite shocking because just a few months before the event, his father and coach, Khabib Nurmagomedov, passed away from complications related to COVID-19. In the post-fight interview, Nurmagomedov revealed he spoke to his mother for 3 days before deciding to take the fight against Gaethje in Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. Despite the American challenging the champion with leg kicks, he succumbed to a triangle choke in the second round. Nurmagomedov cemented his legacy as one of the most dominant MMA fighters ever, with a 29-0 record. Shocked by this, the UFC released a very emotional video as a tribute for Khabib's father. Meanwhile, social media exploded in celebration and tribute after Nurmagomedov's win and retirement announcement. Daniel Cormier posted his picture on Twitter with the caption, "Congratulations to the greatest champion in UFC history. What a career. We are forever grateful for the time we got to spend with you, my brother. 29-0, undefeated and undisputed." Even his biggest rival, Conor McGregor, said, "Good performance at Team Khabib. I will carry on. Respect and condolences on your father again also. To you and family, yours sincerely, the McGregors." And by that time, everyone thought it was over for Khabib in the UFC, until he shocked the world once again. Number 3. Khabib terrorist involvement. Early this year, the UFC star's gym in Dagestan was raided after it was found out that one of the gunmen involved in a recent terror attack had trained there. On June 28th, Russian security forces stormed Khabib Nurmagomedov's MMA gym. This was followed by a viral YouTube video that revealed how his gym was raided by Russian special forces due to terrorist attacks. It turns out the raid happened shortly after a report by Sports Politico revealed that one of the attackers in a recent terror attack on Christian and Jewish houses of worship in Dagestan had trained at the gym. At least 21 people, including 16 police officers and a priest, were killed in the attack. During the raid, law enforcement reportedly identified several fighters with connections to the extremist after questioning people at the gym for 2 days. And if you recall, McGregor might be right after all, because just a few years back, he accused Khabib and his manager of having a connection with terrorists.
Shut your mouth, Ali Abdelaziz, mad terrorist, terrorist snitch. I know a lot about you as well, you mad rat. I know a lot about you as well. You keep your mouth shut, kid. Let me take my picture. How's Noah? How's Noah, huh? Yeah, shut your mouth. Never speak about me. Now,
it's clear there's a lot going on that we don't know. But that would not be enough evidence, especially since this gym was started by jailed Dagestani oligarch Ziauddin Magomedov, and later renamed after Khabib's father, Abdulmanap, who passed away due to COVID complications. After the attack, Khabib quickly denied any real connection with Kagarov, saying he was never a full-time student at the gym. Plus, credible sources also reported that other MMA gyms in Dagestan are also being raided after the attack. Politicians and influential figures, including members of Russia's Presidential Council for Human Rights, have accused Dagestani MMA fighters and their spiritual leaders of spreading extremist ideologies. However, this isn't the first time Khabib's name has been linked to extremists. After his 2018 win against Conor McGregor, Khabib was seen in Dubai with Sagi Murdazaliyev, an Olympic gold medalist in freestyling wrestling accused of financing terrorism and several murders. Murdazaliyev fled Russia and is currently wanted by the government. Do you think he's somehow linked to these guys? Well, we'll never know. And while this controversial moment was almost forgotten, Khabib shocked the world once again after announcing a switch in career. Number 2. Khabib switched to football. By surprise, Khabib came out and said he wants to become a professional footballer, calling himself a free agent for any clubs. In a 2022 Twitter post, the 32-year-old sent a tweet to his fans where he wrote, "Preparing for my football debut. I'm a free agent and ready to accept offers." He then shared a link on his Instagram showing Khabib on a long-distance run. In the video, the Eagle had a few games with Dutch legend Clarence Seedorf, who was his late father Abdul Manap's favorite player. Seedorf, who was a Real Madrid player, joined him in a big 11-a-side match against Turkish chef Burak Özdemir, aka CZN Burak. In the long run, it turned out as a joke after Khabib clarified that he hasn't put pen to paper with Russian football team Legion Dynamo, despite rumors suggesting he might switch careers to football. The Russian retired from the UFC after defeating Justin Gaethje in late 2020 and was focusing on training stars like Islam Makhachev during his break from a highly successful fighting career. However, photos surfaced on social media showing the 32-year-old shaking hands with a representative from Legion Dynamo, suggesting he might be starting a football career. He later refuted these claims, stating that he hasn't signed a contract but does have close ties with the Russian third-tier team. He even posted a video where he said, "I have friendly relations with Legion Dynamo. I support the team and come to their matches when I'm in Makhachkala, but I have no plan to step onto the field because I fly more than I walk right now." Now, that whole saga wasn't even shocking compared to the moment he refused an offer that would change his life forever. Number 1. Khabib refused a commercial offer for ethical reasons. In 2022, Khabib Nurmagomedov turned down a $44 billion industry that the UFC thrives on, citing ethical reasons. The former UFC lightweight champion now runs his own promotion, Eagle FC, where many UFC personalities frequently attend events. However, Nurmagomedov aims to set his promotion apart from others in the business. In a YouTube video released in 2022, he expressed his opinion on sports betting, where he said, "We have great sponsors to support our events. We don't rely on bookmakers. I believe that gambling is more dangerous than alcohol. I think it's worse to advertise bookmakers than alcohol. Bookmakers ruin entire families." Nurmagomedov emphasized concerns about young people becoming addicted to gambling. While he refuses to involve bookmakers in his promotion, the UFC has embraced such partnerships. According to ESPN, in 2021, the UFC struck a significant 5-year deal with DraftKings, expanding its footprint in the sports betting realm. UFC President Dana White welcomed the move, anticipating enhanced fan engagement, with DraftKings reportedly paying the promotion a substantial sum. Despite the tempting financial gains, Khabib chose to turn down this huge income source. This was just one of those moments where he decided to hold on to his personal belief. But we'd like to hear from you. Which moment was the best among these fighters? Let us know your thoughts, and don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.